I read this story right after beginning my first semester of college. It was moving in a way. As the scenery of my life changed and I moved away from the people I grew up with, I forgot I realized what we needed to feel human. That's what this story focuses on. It tackles depression, ignorance, and the darkness that many people face. It's universally understandable, and that is what makes it great. It did not go unnoticed, being 4 times gilded and receiving over 10,000 upvotes, but if you haven't read it, the link will be in the description. There's a certain pathological appeal that many NoSleep writers employ. I'm not really a huge fan of this, and I may cover it extensively in another video, but this story starts out that way. It garners the audience's attention and emotion through sad imagery involving the narrator's dog and father, who both died in poor health condition. While I'm not a fan of this style of no-sleep writing, it is a little more appropriate here given the subject matter of the story. The narrator experiences a constant sadness and wants an out. To me, this is where the story really begins. A lot of people have been at this point in their life. Some turn to drugs, some to counseling. Our narrator turns to one of the ancient abandoned websites of the internet. The imagery created by the 5 days of searching and the result found in a GeoCities help paint a picture of desperation and nostalgia. We are then treated to the contents and instructions of the website. It has a recipe for happiness. Honestly, my first time through the story, I pondered what that could mean. The vagueness of the title, as well as the requirement for meditation on a perfect day, really made me wonder where the story was going, but I'm glad I read on. We're treated to a memory of the narrator's dad from long ago. This plays with our emotions, but then the story takes a shift. When the narrator wakes up, there's a creature. Blood is also mentioned here. This makes us think the creature is harmful and that perhaps the narrator was fooled by the recipe. This is reinforced by the violent imagery of guts and internals being sucked out of the narrator. I sort of jumped out of surprise here because I was not expecting that kind of story. Of course, it would turn out to be a non-violent story, but the use of such jarring language here is important. It's our first taste of how deep-rooted sadness is, and also how important it is to us as people. We are reassured that the narrator is okay as he checks himself into a hospital and is found to be perfectly healthy. This helps settle my mind after the tone of the previous section. Then we read the narrator forms a routine to feel this calm haze and forget his bad memories. Up until that point, he had not worried about anything, but he decided to look at his old photo albums. Here there are a number of heartbreaking lines. One is the size of the creature, who is described as big as a horse, and another is the failure to recognize his own father in the photos. The creature's size is telling of just how much had been taken out of the narrator, which is enforced by the lack of memories. The haze is explained by the line, "After a while, I realized I didn't recognize anybody. I remembered remembering them, but I didn't remember them." He recognizes his selfishness and knows things have gotten out of hand. After an intense mental struggle, he decides to undo the happenings of the story and live in pain with memories. The story closes with the line, "And even though I hurt, I am okay." This is both moving and true. It's easier to be blissfully ignorant than to accept the truth sometimes. There are clear parallels here with drug abuse. After a while, it becomes your only escape, and the life you built becomes fuzzy and pointless. This is described very well here. The universal appeal is that we all have hardships and we deal with them differently. The choice of what to do is what makes us different. But hardships are how you grow. If you turn your back on your problems, you're not only being selfish, but also giving up a large part of your emotions. This story teaches us that sadness is normal and it's okay to hurt. It does not try to be overly creepy or horrifying. Rather, it focuses on reflection and thought. It looks at our inherently selfish nature and then opens our eyes to the backlash and problems with our actions. It's impactful in a way that few no-sleep stories are. It reaches a different level of connection with us and our memories.